And welcome back, everyone, to the box office report today on May the 19th of 2024. I don't believe I got the box office right. I know I got the first three right, and I think I maybe got Fall Guy at number 4, but I don't remember if what I had for number 5. I did so much like double checking on all the numbers that I should have double checked that video if I called it right or not. Either way, If debuts with 35 million. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes made another 26 million, dropping about 55.5%. Not bad. The Strangers Chapter 1 debuts with 12 million. The Fall Guy made another 8.4 million. And then Challengers made another 2.9 million for the number 9 spot. If is obviously one of the big ones we talk about this week because it's its debut week. $35 million. 59 worldwide against a $110 million budget. So what went wrong? Wrong's not the right word because they were honestly projecting it somewhere in the 40s from what I understand, so it came in under the projections. But so here's the good and bad of basically what I'm trying to get at here. The good news is 35 is legitimately about a third. It's like a little under a third, but it's a third of 110. So 35 actually against the 110 budget is not as bad as you might think. It's not great. If it had come in and say like the 45 between 40 and 50, I think they were projecting originally, that'd be a lot better. But I think what happened, honestly, those negative reviews. Let's actually get the last I checked, it was at 49%. What's it currently at right now? Let's find that out real quick. Because I was shocked by what I saw for the review. Like, seriously, you think it's that? You really 49%? Okay, it's staying at 49%. Garfield and Furiosa, by the way, are getting good reviews. But it's staying at 49%, which means just around half, just slightly under half the critics like it, which is still not bad. But what we heard coming out of the initial reactions were it was heartful. It was like it made you cry and all that. And I kind of agreed with a lot of that. So and I've seen some of the reviews, and look, art's subjective, but I do not get where these people are coming from on this. I really don't. I feel like people are just a bit more jaded now than they used to be, at least when it comes to certain things. So, like I said, the good news is 35 million domestically is not what you wanted, but still not a bad opening weekend for this type of film. So that's the good news. The bad news is internationally, 24 is not, I mean, it's going to make more internationally, obviously, but 24 is not enough. It needed to open to at least an equivalent 35, if not more. I would say probably anything above 40 would have been a much better start. 24 is not a good opening weekend. Now, to be fair, it probably isn't opened in all territories yet, so we still have to wait on that to see what it's going to do. It's a real shame because I think this is a beautiful film, honestly, in many ways. And John Krasinski is a great director. He's had 2 smash hits with the Quiet Place films. Look, every director has their bad day at the office. This isn't a bad day at the office. I just don't know what about this didn't attract the audiences, honestly. I take it back. I think I know one thing that could have turned the audiences off, not just the negative reviews. It's the same issue I've brought up with things like The Fall Guy. Like, what's another film that came out recently that I could say the same about? Is there anything up here that kind of fell under the same cat? Oh, maybe like Ghostbusters a little bit. Although, again, Ghostbusters not quite the same thing. Oh, Ministry. That was another example I gave where it was just the same trailer over and over again. The problem with films like this is how do you actually market it without really revealing any of like the bits or what they're really trying to go for or spoil too much or like give away the whole movie more or less. And that's a tough call because really every time I saw the trailer for this film, it was the same trailer. So I think that still plays a factor where people just see the same thing over and over, no variety, and it just they just go, nah, I'm good. So I don't know. I hope it does. Well, I hope it can have some legs. The problem is it's going to go up against Garfield this week, and that is just going to be a steamroller of no. Like, that's pure kid right there. Animated family film, kids film. Like, it's Garfield, for God's sake. So that's just any momentum this film's gonna have is already gonna be cut at the knees from Garfield. And Garfield, from what I understand, first off, Garfield, as we just go back here real quick, has way better reviews by 34%. Now, how many people have actually reviewed this film critic-wise? This might go up or down. Hold on. You should also know, though, that if the audience score for If is good, like the audiences who saw it like it a lot. So let's see here. Okay, that's to be fair, this is only from 11 people. Garfield could go up or down by a large margin, so we'll see. But right now, it holds a better score. So yeah, and again, Garfield, it's known IP. Now, people might get on the like studios case for no originality. First off, there's plenty of originality. There's more original content now than ever. It's just not going to big screens a lot. That's the problem. And for good reason, honestly, because when there's an original film out there, you SOBs don't go to support it. And I'm guilty of that too sometimes too, but like us as a people, we beg for originality and then don't go to support the originality. It doesn't do well with the box office. So you know what? Shut the hell up about there being no original films if you're not going to support them. But you know, we've seen that. Guess what? As long as the film is entertaining, decent enough script, quality, decent enough film quality wise, doesn't matter if it's known IP or not. Barbie's a known IP. Mario was a known IP. Both the highest grossing films of the year last year. So, yeah, Garfield's gonna really hurt If. Now they're not the exact same demographic. We should be very clear. One's live action animation. It's definitely a bit more mature in terms of some of the stuff it's telling than what Garfield's probably going to be throwing at us. So they're not a 1-to-1, but you'd be silly to think they don't compete on some level. Now, talking about a film that doesn't compete with either of these, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes dropped 55.5% to make $126 million this week. It currently stands at worldwide $237.5 million. 55.5 is really what, generally speaking, where you want to be. Anywhere from 50 to mid-50s is where you want your drop-off to be. Anything lower than that is gravy. Anything higher than that is concerning. At least for your first weekend. 237. Now, look, the film is great. It is probably going to be in my best of the year, but the year isn't even half over yet. So we're going to have to wait and see what I ultimately think down the road in terms of what I think the best films of the year are. But it is definitely in the conversation right now. Definitely, at least. But, I mean, last I checked, it was like at 150 something. It's now at 237. And 26 of that came from the domestic. And I'm not saying that the international isn't going to keep picking up a little bit. It might. Let's actually, you know what? That's a good thing. Good idea. Let's check. Let me get the box office again real quick. Let's check real quick the Planet of the Apes film. Planet of the Apes. So let's actually just take a look at what some of the most recent trilogy. Let's do that. Let's see here. There's Rise, Dawn, and War. So Rise went on to make $481 million against a $93 million budget. Good numbers. Of course you'd make another one. Absolutely. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which most people, including myself, consider to be the best of the three, made $710 million against a $170 million budget. Of course you do the next one in the franchise. It's a given. It's a damn given. It's a damn given. $490 for War, though. Now, it was made on less money, but it still made it $150. Now, $490 still means it made its money back. So, on average, and I'm not going to do the actual math right here, right now, but on average, you're looking at a film series that is made on, roughly speaking, has made, I should say, roughly speaking, divided by 3, about $500-ish million, give or take, on average. That's the kind of company this film has got to try to be in the neighborhood of, to just be considered to be financially in the same realm and warrant more of this series. Now, in actuality, the film is made on 160. It's probably has about 100 in marketing, so you're looking at a film that has to hit only about 390 to break even. It doesn't actually have to hit that 500 range to, be successful. It's got to hit about 400 to be successful. as it stands right now, I don't know where it's going to land. It didn't open to a huge number, but the Planet of the Apes movies clearly have legs to them as well. It's international is really going to be the telling factor here. I mean, domestically, it'll probably end up reaching its budgeted amount of 160. It's 59 away from that right now. So it's still going to have some time to collect money from the domestic. But international is really where this film's going to have to, save grace. The problem here for Planet of the Apes, very quickly, and if we'll just go over here real quick, is that it's going to be running into a giant Furiosa-sized roadblock this week. Now, like Garfield, this film does not compete for the exact same demographic as Furiosa, but it certainly has a crossover, and a sizable one, I'd imagine, at that. People who would normally go to see Planet of the Apes probably would go to see Furiosa, is my guess. And then you actually have a slow week in the Memorial Day weekend, which is good for all these films. And then you have Bad Boys, Ride or Die coming out, and The Watchers. So I will say it's got more or less to the end of May to really rake in as much money as it can before it's pretty much done with its, not done with its run, but done with the bulk of money it's going to make. That's my thoughts. And again, much like if maybe Kingdom needs to open in more territories first. Because with that number, it's clear that it's still going to be making some money internationally next week. So there's that. The Strangers, Chapter 1, debuted with $12 million. Now, I did not go see this film. I very much don't care for this type of film, or this franchise in general. Plus, 14% of Rotten Tomatoes tells me I'm right in my opinion. So, speaking of, real quick too, Back in Black did not get a good review at all. 34%. Hoofa. Yeah, and this film called The Hitman, whatever that is. Oh, wait, is that Glenn Powell again? Yeah, it is Glenn Powell again. I know nothing about this, but whatever. Glenn Powell's just on a hot streak right now, isn't he? But look, it's one of those movies that doesn't have to make a lot of money. This one's only made on $8.5 million. Like a lot of the other films I brought up, it really only has the one trailer, too. Which it really only needs, so it's probably only got about $10 million in marketing. I mean, that'd be my thought anyway. So you're looking at a film, much actually like another film that we'll get back down to in the list real soon. It only has to hit about $30 million, and it's not only broken even, it's made its money back. So opening at 12 is a good number for that. We'll see ultimately where it can land, but that's not a bad number for that, if I'm going to be honest. Now, the bad reviews, and, by the way, what was the, that's not it, there we go. What was the audience reaction to Strangers Prey at Night? Because I literally just read the synopsis as I was finding the poster for the thumbnail, and I'm like, oh, God, I'm just sick and tired of films like this. Wait a minute, what was that now? 41% by the audience. Like, audiences like it, too, but I like it more, just nowhere near as effective. I just don't. I've gotten tired of the villain just not getting any comeuppance whatsoever. Not even like a gut wound or something like that. I've gotten tired of that. Which, by the way, I'm not spoiling this movie at all, by the way. That was like the original ones as well. The Strangers just got away with shit. And I get it, the idea that you're never going to be able to stop evil sometimes. Sometimes evil just exists. But I'm kind of tired of that. I'm tired of this nihilistic approach of just people, we can't win. I'm tired of that. I'm not saying it doesn't need to have its place, and I'm not saying it can't continue to exist. I'm just saying you need to balance that out with some positivity and a happy ending once in a while. Regardless, The Fall Guy, speaking of things that, oh God, we need a happy ending once in a while. I want a happy ending for this film, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, the audiences did not go out to this film. They just didn't. It's an anomaly. It really is. $127 million gets a $130 million budget. And then you're factoring in at least $60 for the marketing budget. You're talking about a film that probably has to hit $300, roughly speaking, to break even. I still, to this day, can't figure out exactly what went wrong here. Because on all accounts, critically and from the audiences, it was a hit. liked it. So what happened here where people just didn't go out to see it? And I've given a couple of theories, but I'll continue to give these theories and possibly think of new ones if I can think them up. One, similar to everything else I've said here, a little oversaturation. This trailer was kind of attached to everything. So I think that might have turned some people off, just too much of it. B, I've heard some people say the title wasn't very good, but I don't think the title usually, unless you're saying, oh, the pedophile parade or something like that. I don't think, and then to be fair, that might attract some people, just be like, what the fuck is this? But still, the trial wasn't very attractive. But again, I think I came up with a reason last week, and I think it actually really, really stands out to me in my head. The Fall Guy looked like a fun time, but it looked like one of those movies too where people didn't need to rush out to see it. And they think, oh, well, it'll come to streaming in about a month, so why don't I just wait to watch it on the streaming service that I'm going to have? Which in this case would be Peacock. And I think that might be a big factor here. I think that's why a lot of films that probably would have opened higher nowadays are struggling just to, break even, because streaming exists and they have that stupid 45-day release window. And some studios still haven't figured it out. Like, day and date doesn't work. Going straight to streaming doesn't work. Like, they have not figured it out yet. And I just don't. All the evidence has proven to the contrary on that. If this film, let's say, had a 60-day, I think the 60-day would have been the perfect middle ground to that agreement. Because now, like, for example, Godzilla just went to digital this week. If it had 60-day release, it would not be going to digital. People would not be just sitting at home and watching it. They'd still be going to the theaters to watch it. And we'll talk about the Godzilla in a little bit, but Godzilla and Kong does. But I think that's the problem Fall Guy's dealing with. It didn't look like a grand enough experience for people to actually feel the need to spend their money and go out and have a date night, or go out and bring the kids or something like that. And it sucks. Like, there's no way around it. It sucks. And I think that might be the biggest explanation we have here. Again, oversaturation of the trailer, I think, was a part of it too. I do think that. But I think the streaming services are kind of what killed this particular film, unfortunately. Because as it stands, it will hit its budgeted amount, but it's not making its money back. This really sucks. Because by all accounts, from both the critics and the audiences, it was a hit. By all accounts, it was a hit, and yet it's going to flop. So I hate that. I really do. Again, yes, based on an IP that existed way back then, when, that no one had heard of. But let's be honest here. Even if it is based on an IP, in this case, by all accounts, it's still an original idea. So, especially for most of the people who don't know it's based on an old IP, which how many people honestly would. So, yeah. Challengers made our $2.9 million. I guess its $55 million budget is at $78 million. My nose is itching for some reason. Not good enough. Just not, like, let's actually take a quick look real quick. Go to the worldwide. And see the films that actually have straight out this year made some money. And see what the difference is. Because, again, there's a lot of films that have not made money this year that theoretically should have. Dune Part 2. Clearly made money. Godzilla New Empire clearly made money. Kung Fu Panda 4 clearly made money. But after that, The Beekeeper made money. Mean Girls made a little bit of coin. Night Swim did manage to get some money. Garfield's actually it's already worldwide pre-opened internationally, so Garfield's probably going to end up making money. Imaginary made a little bit of change. I think Monkey Man also did, or just barely broke even. But apart from like 5 or 6 films, everything else here has either lost a lot of money. I'm looking at you, Argyle and Madam Web, or it's barely on the cusp of making it, or just barely lost it. I'm looking at you, Ghostbusters. I'm looking at you, Bob Marley. Like, so what? Let's look at the films that actually did make money and see what went right here real quick before we continue on, because I think this is important. Dune Part 2. I think we can all know. We all know what went right there. It's widely considered right now to be among, if not the best movie of the year. It's following a very successful, very acclaimed first movie. It's not dealing with the day and date release. So you compile all that together, and you have a massive win financially. Great. Godzilla and Kong New Empire. Fun, bombastic action movie. It's the Monster vs. Godzilla have never actually been more popular than they are right now, with Godzilla Minus One winning an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. Monarch being a very big success. Godzilla vs. Kong being one of the only films in the pandemic era to be able to make money and be, a spectacle on screen. And it is. It's a big, bombastic, fun action fest. And I think that was the big reason here. Kung Fu Panda, again, notable IP. Really take the kids to it. Colorful, bright, and a very entertaining film. The Beekeeper, a relatively solid action film made on a very mild budget. Like, it was not made on anything major. That was the thing. It was not made on a big budget, like $30 million. So it made its money back in spades, like after the first 2 or 3 weeks. Then if we look at any of the other films currently that have made money, Night Swim, and was barely made on anything. That's the only thing that saved it, if I'm going to be honest. Same with Imaginary. And yeah, that's pretty much everything else. So what can we take away from this 4 films like Challengers, which was made on $55 million, low by Hollywood box office standards or Hollywood blockbuster standards, but still, that's $55 million for a very non-blockbustery film. I think that's the best way. Yeah, a non-blockbustery film. I think that's the best way to call it. I don't know where the idea for the budgets come from sometimes. Because I didn't see the film, but based on what I saw of the film, it probably could have been made on maybe not half the budget, but like 30 million or 35. That's not to say it still would have made its money back, but it wouldn't have done anywhere near as poorly as it did here. I think there's got to be a big talk going around Hollywood right now about spending. Now, to be fair, nothing here except I think for Dune Part 2 was over 200 million this year so far. I think Dune Part 2 was the only one that was, and even then I might be wrong on that. I think it actually might only be like one. Let me just look that up real quick. Dune Part 2, Dune 2 budget. What was that? Because honestly, straight up, I don't know if any film this year will have a budget of 200 or more. Yeah, no, it's 190 for this film. So now, okay, I take it back. Argyle had a $200 million marketing budget. I have no idea where that money went in Argyle. I have no idea where it went. You know what? Now I take it back because there was so much CGI in that film. That film did not need to be made on that budget. You could have done it on half and you still could have gotten relatively the same effects. I mean, how much were the actors' paychecks for? Seriously. I digress. Back to Black. I checked. I believe it's made on 50 million? Was that right? 1 second here. Back to Black. Hold on. Back to Black movie budget. What was it made on? Oh, okay. Sorry. It was one of the oddball. Apparently, film net spent was minus 22.7 million. So basically, 23 million is what the film was made on. One of the few circumstances here where this film, despite getting relatively bad reviews, and the audience didn't really care that much for it, could still make its money back because it also barely has any marketing to it. 10 or 15 at most. So if you do the math, that's a $30 to $38 million budget. And you're looking at a film that basically has to hit 60 million. If it can hit 60 million, it's good. Maybe it can do it. I'm not gonna hold my breath. It only opened to 2.8 million this week. Taro, Aldaz, the other film, was also only made on like 8.2 or something million. It's made 29.9 million. It also didn't get great reviews, but again, it's at least not losing money. They'll make a little bit of money. But again, it's not been a very strong year at the box office profit-wise. Certainly, you have films like Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, which made like 198 million, and I'm not going to click on that because I know it's 198 million. It checked prior, but that's not enough to make money. Whereas you'd still get Dune, Kingdom, Godzilla, which do make money. It's a very weird year this year. And speaking of Godzilla, now we're there. 1.7 million, $561 million. Basically just around 7 million away from breaking the MonsterVerse record. But now we've now hit the point where the international is just no longer giving it a boost. That's the problem. The international is no longer giving it a boost. And oh man. So okay, 7 million. 7 million. Can it do it? Let me just get Kong's exact number again. I believe it's like 568 and 800 grand. I think that's it. Kong. Let's see here. Kong. All right, Kong. Okay, yeah, 68.6. 68.652 if you want to get technical. So basically, it has to basically make 653, like 7,653. That's what it needs to make. That's what it needs to make. I don't know. It only made 1.7 this weekend. It's now on digital. It might luck out and make an extra million next week. It might luck out and do that. It might. But I don't know. I don't think it's got it in the tank for another 7 million. Which really blows. It was that close. That close. Like if only it could have made like an extra, I'm not even going to say 5 million. If only it could have made an extra like 4 million. If it had made an extra like 4 million this week, I would have said yes. Yes, it would have. Because it would have been at 65, would have just been 3 million away. But okay, let me just do the hypothetical in my head here real quick. Because, okay, next week, I'm guessing about 1 million, and I'm not factoring in the day-to-days, which is only like in the 100-ish grands right now. A couple hundred grands each. 1 million-ish next week. We have Memorial Day weekend coming the following, so that will actually be a little bit of an extra boost. So I'm thinking 1.5 to 2 at most, but still, I'll lowball it to be conservative. I'm going to say 1.5. That's 2.5 million. Then it's probably going to be doing more like 7s and 8s. It's so difficult to figure out if it can do it or not. I'll give my final thought after Memorial Day, not this week, but the following week, because that's going to be really key to figuring it out. But look, it doesn't actually need to it doesn't need to crack that goal to be successful. It is, by all accounts, successful. It was all right. It was okay. Well, it was okay reviewed by the critics. It was well reviewed, reacted by the audiences, and the money showed. The money showed. So yeah, there we go. The Blue Angels follows the veterans of newest class Navy Marine Corps Flight Squadron as they go through intense training into this is a documentary at Amazon MGM. Oh, it is okay. It's a documentary. Okay, cool. Go Blue Angels. Go Air Force. Unsung Hero, man, earned 1 million dollars, 19 some odd million this week. Good for it. Just never saw it. I'm not going to. Civil War, a little over $1 million this week, $111 million against a $50 million budget. Again, I assume it's around probably like a $30 million marketing. You're looking at 80. The film didn't make its money back. Now, that being said, I think, hold on, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I need to check that because before this, I know Everything Everywhere All at Once was the highest grossing of A24. Everything Everywhere All at Once. So how much did that go on to make? No, it is not going to beat Everything Everywhere All at Once to be the highest grossing A24 film of all time. I have no shame in saying that it won't be. Which is fine, didn't need to be. I saw TV Glow. I've heard about this film, and it's a weird supernatural thing. 1.4 million though. I don't know. The rest of it's all just kind of in the ether right now. Abigail, for example, made $400,000. It's also on digital right now, $39 million. It did not make its money back. Universal is having a bit of a rough year this year. Now they had Kung Fu Panda, which is successful, but that Fall Guy one, that's gonna hurt their ass. What was it? If it's Paramount apparently isn't having a strong year this year either. In fact, Paramount, I believe, is on the edge of basically on bankruptcy, and they're looking to be bought. Everything else here, I don't have much else to say about it. Ministry is done. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is done. And maybe it can cross 200 million, but regardless, that's your box office this week. The one upside I will give the box office though this week is that if you really just add the top 12 together, that's what 51, 63, 71, 74. It's about almost an $80 million weekend, which is good. But next week obviously is going to be a really big weekend because you're going to have Furiosa and you're going to have Garfield, which is great counter programming, by the way. Like, these are two very different films, so great counter programming, and like both are getting very well reviewed. Garfield apparently is sold out in many things, so I'm actually going to say Garfield's going to be #1 next week. It's far more family friendly. It's far more four quadrant than Furiosa is. So I think it's going to be #1 next week. Followed immediately by Furiosa. Ooh, here we go, though. What is the third place option going to be? Because the audiences, let me get IF's audience score up here real quick. Because even though IF only has a 49% from the critics, it's got a relatively good audience score. I think it's like in the 80s last I checked. Come on. There we go. If. So let's see here. It is. If is. All right. 87%. Yeah. The majority of the vast majority of the audiences like this film, minimum. So this is one of those films where I don't understand. Like, let me just see if we have them here real quick. It reminds us of how certain key ingredients, charm, wit, clarity, emotional fact, and resonance cannot be willed into narrative existence or fixed in post. I have no idea what you're talking about when you say that. The story of If itself is a mess, a heartfelt but dramatic, inert endeavor that whipsaws between tenons ranging from whimsical to morose. What? Okay. I could look up more, but those are the two right there. Now, an audience member said it dragged in too many places. Storyline was unclear in many places due to poor editing. For all, it was cute, but missed its potential. Fabulous idea, but sadly missed the mark. And you know what? See, unlike the rest of those, which aren't actually going into any detail, that person actually said they felt it dragged too much. This is an audience member, by the way, and they did a far better review than these critics did. I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't their full review. This is just a comment. It dragged in too many places. I can kind of see that, actually. Its pacing is a little off. A story was unclear in many places due to poor editing. I don't know if the editing was poor, but I can understand why the narrative structure could be a little considered unclear. It was cute, but missed potential. I don't personally think it was missed potential, but you see, unlike these two people, this person I can get behind why they didn't love it. I can get behind that based on the explanation. But those two people, I have no idea what they're on. And look, it's all subjective, I get it, but still. So I say all this because it has the potential to have a good weekend because it's a very kid-friendly film, very emotional, very moving, all that. But that audience member, as they put it, said they're probably not going to go back to see it a second time. Kingdom is probably going to have a solid weekend, but with Furiosa coming out and Garfield, everything's going to take a hit. So again, Garfield and Furiosa, those are your 1 and 2. Let's see here. Hypothetically, what am I looking at another 50% drop? I'm going to go If. Because even if If takes a little higher than I don't think it's going to take a 60. I hope not. But even if it does, if Kingdom takes another 50, which is very possible with Furiosa coming out, then it's going to be at like 13 or less. And I still think If makes more than that in the second week. And then I'm gonna go Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And ooh, here we go. Here's a good debate: Strangers or The Fall Guy? I'm going The Fall Guy. I think Strangers, based on those numbers we saw, which I can get those back up again real quick if you need to be convinced on those. You think that number's bad? That number's not good. I would go so far as to say it's leaning on bad, but that's near 50. It's just sort of But you think that number's bad? 14% and only 41% of the audience liked that The Strangers. So yeah, Fall Guy will still manage to keep a number 5 spot next week. So just to recap one last time, I got Garfield number 1, Furiosa number 2, It number 3, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes number 4, and then Strangers Fall Guy at number 5. We'll see what happens next week, but until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys for the next one.